Good morning, dear friends. I woke up thinking about mirrors, projections, and reflections. Have you tried seeing yourself without a mirror? It's impossible, right? So, in this world that we live in, we rely on others to be mirrors for ourselves. And when we're little, the first mirrors are our parents. And our parents are supposed to reflect back to us who we are and what is okay and what is not okay. And a lot of us have grown up in homes where the parents were not emotionally mature and sometimes not even available. So we have not learned to have our feelings mirrored back to us. And we have not been taught how to actually deal with those feelings. For example, if all of a sudden you start to talk bad about somebody, you may realize that actually the reason that you don't like them is because they're doing something that you want to be doing, but you don't have the courage to do it. And you're filled with jealousy and envy because you want to have what they have, but you're not willing to put in the work involved to do it and have it. And the same with a lot of other things. For example, you could be afraid of something, uh, but you don't want to admit that you are afraid, and instead you really reject that thing and badmouth it without even knowing it. So that's why gaining emotional intelligence is very important, and we can use the world as a mirror, and based on the reflection that we get, use that reflection to learn about our perception. And then instead of projection and projecting our uncomfortable feelings onto the world, work with them so we can see clearly. And in the same token, if we take it in the direction of personal relationships, some people will reflect certain things about you that they can see and are comfortable with and they have accepted in themselves. Others will reflect other things about you. So that's why it's good to have a lot of different reflections. And also, when we're growing and evolving, some people will be uncomfortable to see and witness our healing and our new way of dealing with things. So they would not want to reflect this new version of ourselves. And it's important to understand that they're simply attached to the old version of us that was in victim or martyr mentality, and that's who they were comfortable with, and they're not ready to switch themselves. So that's why they don't want to reflect the new version of us that is empowered, that is wanting to get things done, and that is not blaming the reflection anymore, but working with it, and is not projecting anymore, but working with the feelings and being informed and using the feelings to change our internal state, and in this way create a new reflection in the world outside of us and creating boundaries. So it's okay to recognize that, and instead of trying to change them or their perception, to simply let go and create better boundaries, and know that you can meet other people that will reflect better the truth of who you are, and that will see the beauty in you and give you your flowers and not use you constantly as a mirror that they project things on because they're not comfortable to see themselves and the reflection, the new reflection that you offer of them, where they still have a lot of healing to do. And when we see that, we can move through life with a lot more grace and recognize, okay, there are these parts of me that this person is uncomfortable with because maybe they evoke jealousy or envy or actual fear, or they make them anxious, or because they're parts that they have not accepted within themselves yet and are not willing to see, so they're suppressed and repressed. So that's why when they see them in me, it makes them very uncomfortable. And that's okay. I don't have to change that person or anything. I don't need to change myself if those are parts of myself that I'm actually comfortable with, like my creativity, my expansion, the kindness of my heart, my deep wisdom. And if those things threaten them and my way of seeing and being threatens them, then maybe I'm just going to not see that person so much because I don't feel that they reflect me in my fullness. And I would rather be with somebody else who's comfortable with more of me. And I could be myself with them, and I could share my grief. I could share the wisdom that I learned from it. I could share my love. I could share my creativity. And all of these parts are welcomed and embraced, and they don't make the other person uncomfortable because they have welcomed and embraced their parts within themselves. And that is maturity. A mature person knows that they're comprised of everything and has chosen to prioritize the things in themselves that they actually want to develop and love. And they serve as a better mirror to others because they're not reflecting through, their own um, fear, judgment, insecurity, um, competition, but they're reflecting through purity. And it's like, okay, this is what you're showing me, and this is what I'm going to show back. And I'm not disturbed by you. So if you exhibit good qualities, I'm going to show them back. And if you exhibit bad qualities, I'm going to reflect them so you can correct. And this is, like the true spiritual teacher, uh, if you're willing to learn, right? And ultimately, we get to the realization that we get to choose who we want to be. And if there's something the mirror is reflecting back to us that we don't like, if we accept the thing and not fight it and not pretend that it's not there, when we accept it, we actually gain the power to change it. Because if we keep denying it and disowning it, we can't even work with it. But when we accept it, we can change it or own it, if we want to own it. Because sometimes a person can reflect our beauty, but because we have adopted a negative self concept, we choose to deny that beauty and are playing humble and modest. And, we see it in that person, but we don't want to own it for ourselves because it's going to be too much, because we can't, because there are some things that are only reserved for certain people. And that is not true. Everything that we see in others, we have within ourselves. And the fact that we can see it in them is enough to point out that we have it because we recognize it. It's just that sometimes it needs to be developed. Like, for example, if we admire somebody's confidence, self expression, the way that they share bravely their creations with the world without worrying what anybody has to say about them, we can develop the same things inside of ourselves We just have to persist and take the steps needed. So think about that. Think about the fact that most people will not give you an objective reflection of you, and sometimes they'll downplay your beauty to make themselves feel better out of their own jealousy and insecurity, fear, envy that your reflection is getting processed through. Sometimes they will over flatter you, again for the same reasons. And don't be, like too trusting to most mirrors because they're not objective. Instead, the best thing is to start working on yourself. And if there are certain things that you have seen that you really don't like, change them, work with your feelings, and on the inside, create a self concept that you like. When you see other things exhibited by other people, say, you know what, I really like this person's courage. I want to develop more courage. And start saying, I'm courageous. I really like the this person's kindness and how polite they're always when they communicate with me, and how they make me feel so seen, so heard, so loved, and so important in a good sense. So from now on, I want to start to communicate more like them, and start my text with "Hello, how are you?" Or like, "I hope you're doing wonderful," and then follow up with "Thank you so much." So there are so many wonderful things we can learn from others, and we can start adding to ourselves the things that we like and subtracting the things that we don't like shown in the mirrors around us. And it's a beautiful process of creating ourselves and constantly recreating ourselves and growing and evolving and striving to be more of a clearer mirror to others, to reflect their beauty and to also reflect their shortcomings in a gentle way so they can self correct if they want to. And if when we do the latter, they don't like it and they get really triggered and they have a lot of shortcomings and they don't want to work on them, then we don't have to be around them. Makes things simple.